You see, I never wanted to be the president. I never wanted to be a fireman or a police officer. I never wanted to be a superhero of any kind. My earliest memories, all that I ever thought about was becoming a pastor. And I know for many of you that may sound kind of odd, but it's the truth. Oh, of course, there was the rare daydream of walking up in the bottom of the 10th with the bases loaded and pulling a Freddie Freeman and hitting a walk-off grand slam to win a World Series game. Of course, every young boy dreams of catching the winning touchdown in a Super Bowl, but those were fleeting thoughts for me. My entire life, I dreamed of fulfilling a call to ministry. And then I lived that. Publicly, I lived to that end. I started preaching at a young age. My first sermon I preached, I was probably 13 years old. At 21 years old, I became a youth pastor. A few years later, I became an associate pastor. And at 30 years old, I accepted my first senior pastorate. I was living the dream. And as a result of the way that I had lived my life and was living my life, I had no sympathy for anybody that did not trust God completely. You see, I trusted God completely. I trusted God so completely that in 2009, after a short period of discontentment, my wife and I resigned our position as the pastors of a church that loved us, took very good care of us, and met every financial need. A decision that was made in a moment impacted our life drastically and in many ways. See, for the next 7 years, our lives were difficult at best. We never really questioned the decision that we made on the first Sunday of May in 2009, but over the course of the next 7 years, everything else that I had held to in my life would absolutely be questioned. Even my personal relationship with Christ. For a short period, in my darkest moments, I got to the point that I felt like not only could I not hear God, but that honestly, I didn't want to. And at what was pretty near my lowest point, I met a man that saw beyond the rough exterior, and possibly partially as a result of that exterior, identified the gifts that were still inside of me. I immediately felt drawn to him. And this man, Dr. Peter Bertolero, he began to speak life into me. And over the course of the next couple of years, I read things that he wrote. I visited his church a couple of times. And unknowingly to him, he led me back from a very, very dark place. I remember visiting his church one holiday season. And I know it was a visit because I wasn't regularly attending church, and I hadn't for several years. And Pete asked me to come and speak to the men of his church. And I committed on the spot. And then I was instantly scared to death. And when I expressed my fear to him, and as always, he was able to identify that that fear was a result of the pain that I had encountered during the 7 years of increasing darkness. So as I expressed my fear to him, he said, "Good. See you on the 16th, and turned around and walked away. He left me no room to back out. And as I prepared for and delivered that message to those men that morning, I found my edge again. And that reignited my passion for ministry. And here we are today.